Chosen ones, October 10th is here. And it's time to tell you everything, every truth, every promise, every divine secret that's been waiting for you. The universe has been whispering your name, aligning every moment to bring you to this exact point. You're not here by chance. You're standing at the edge of something massive, something that will shift your life forever. God has been preparing you, shaping you, and now He's ready to reveal the full weight of His plan for you. Pause for a second. Feel that spark in your chest. That's not just your heartbeat. It's the pulse of destiny calling you forward. You've been through storms, walked through shadows, and carried burdens no one else could understand. But every trial, every tear, every moment you thought you'd break was building you for this. October 10th isn't just a date. It's a marker, a divine signal that the gates of your purpose are swinging wide open. You're about to step into a season where everything changes. Your heart, your path, your entire existence. Let's make this moment count. Hit that like button. Subscribe to join thousands of chosen one souls and leave a comment with the number 777 below. That number isn't random. It's a declaration to the universe that you're ready to receive what's yours. Trust me, you'll want to stay until the end, because what's coming will shake you to your core in the best way possible. You've always known you were different. Maybe you couldn't put it into words, but deep down you felt it a quiet knowing that you were made for more. Others might have called you strange, too sensitive, or out of place, but that's because they couldn't see what God sees in you. You're not just another face in the crowd. You're a spark of divine fire, a soul handpicked to carry a light that can't be dimmed. And right now, that light is about to blaze brighter than ever. Think about the moments in your life when you felt unstoppable. Maybe it was a time when you pushed through fear, spoke your truth, or stood firm when everything around you was crumbling. Those weren't accidents. They were glimpses of the power God placed inside you. The world might try to measure you by its standards, money, status, or likes on a screen, but God measures you by the fire in your spirit. And that fire is about to ignite something extraordinary. October 10th is your turning point. Picture a door, massive and ancient, carved with your name in golden letters. It's been locked for years, waiting for this exact moment. Behind it lies everything you've been praying for. Peace that doesn't fade, wealth that flows without struggle, and a purpose so clear it makes your heart sing. God's been holding the key and He's handing it to you now. All you have to do is walk through. Don't let doubt creep in. You've carried enough of that already. The voice that says you're not ready, not worthy, or not enough, that's not God. That's the noise of a world that's scared of your light. You're not here to shrink. You're here to rise, to claim what's been promised to you since before you were born. If you're feeling that pull, that urge to step forward, comment 777 in the section below. Let the heavens know you're ready to walk through that door. Look at the story of Esther. A young woman, ordinary by the world's eyes, placed in a palace she didn't choose. She could have stayed quiet, hidden her truth, and blended in. But when the moment came, she stepped up, risking everything to save her people. Her courage wasn't loud or flashy. It was steady, rooted in faith. That's you right now. You're standing in your own palace moment where God is calling you to act, to speak, to be the version of yourself He always intended. The beauty of this moment is that it's not about striving. You don't have to claw your way to the top or prove yourself to anyone. God's already done the heavy lifting. Your job is to trust, to move, to believe that the path is already paved. October 10th is when the fog clears and you see the road ahead with crystal clarity. Every step you take from here is guided, protected, and blessed beyond measure. You might be wondering what everything means. What is God about to reveal? It's not just one thing. It's a cascade of truths. It's the realization that your struggles were never random, but stepping stones to your destiny. It's the understanding that your pain was forging a strength no one can take away. It's the wealth, the health, the love, and the joy that God's been storing up for you, ready to pour out like a river that never runs dry. Comment 777 below if you can feel it, the shift, the energy, the promise that something massive is coming. This isn't about hype or empty words. This is about the truth that's been written in the stars in your soul since the beginning. You're not chasing dreams anymore. You're stepping into them, and they're more real than anything you've ever touched. Let's talk about what's waiting on the other side of that door. Picture your L. I fade free from the weight of worry. No more sleepless nights wondering how you'll pay the bills or if you're on the right path. God's provision isn't just enough. It's overflowing. It's the kind of abundance that lets you breathe deeply, give generously, and live boldly. It's not just money, though that's coming too. It's peace in your heart, strength in your body, and clarity in your mind. You've seen people like Joseph in the Bible, sold into slavery, thrown into prison, forgotten by everyone except God. Every low point in his life was a setup for something greater. From a pit to a palace, he rose because he trusted God's timing. You're in your Joseph moment now. The pit you've been in, it's not your story's end. It's the foundation for a palace God's building for you. October 10th is when you start seeing the blueprints. The world will try to distract you. It'll throw noise, chaos, even fear your way. But you're not swayed. You've got a shield. The unshakable truth that God's got you. No storm can touch you when you're anchored in His plan. You're not just surviving anymore. You're thriving, radiating a light that draws others in. People will notice. They'll wonder why you're so calm, so confident, so alive. It's because you know what's coming. Your life is a canvas and God's the artist. Every brush stroke, every hardship, every victory has been leading to this masterpiece. October 10th is when the colors start to pop, when the picture becomes clear. You're not just a bystander in your story. You're the main character chosen to shine, to lead, to inspire. If that resonates, type 777 in the comments. Let the universe know you're claiming this moment. Now, let's get real about what it means to step into this season. It's not about sitting back and waiting for blessings to fall from the sky. It's about moving with purpose. God's opening the door, but you've got to walk through it. That might mean saying yes to something that scares you, letting go of what's comforter, play, or speaking up when you'd rather stay quiet. Whatever it is, trust that you're ready. Think of David facing Goliath. He didn't have the armor, the experience, or the approval of those around him. But he had faith and a slingshot. That was enough. You've got your own slingshot, your gifts, your courage, your unshakable belief that God's got your back. October 10th is your Goliath moment. Whatever giant you're facing, it's going down because you're not fighting alone. This isn't just about you though. Your transformation is a beacon for others. When you step into your purpose, you give permission for those around you to do the same. Your family, your friends, even strangers. They'll see your bite and find the courage to chase their own. You're not just changing your life, you're sparking a movement, a ripple effect that touches the world. The enemy might try to whisper lies that you're too broken, too late, too small. But those lies crumble in the face of truth. You're not defined by your past. You're defined by the God who calls you His own. October 10th is when you silence those whispers for good. You're stepping into a season where your voice, your actions, your very presence declare who you really are. Let's talk about the glow. You know what I mean? That inner radiance that's starting to shine through. It's not just about looking good, though people will notice that too. It's about the energy you carry, the peace that surrounds you, the joy that spills out without effort. This glow is God's signature on your life, proof that His Spirit is working in you, through you, for you. Maybe you've caught glimpses of it already. A moment when you felt truly alive, when everything made sense. That's not a fluke, that's a preview of what's coming. October 10th is when that glow stops flickering and starts burning steady. It's when people start asking, what's different about you? And you just smile knowing it's God's handiwork. You're not chasing fleeting things anymore. Or money that slips through your fingers, approval that fades, or success that leaves you empty. You're stepping into something eternal. God's blessings don't run out. His peace doesn't expire. His purpose for you doesn't fade with time. This is the kind of wealth that lasts, the kind that fills every part of you. Hit that like button if you're feeling this truth. Subscribe to join thousands of chosen one souls walking this path with you. The journey is just beginning and you're not walking it alone. October 10th is your moment to claim everything God's been preparing. You ready? Because it's here and it's yours. Let's talk about the fire inside you. It's always been there even when you couldn't see it. Every time you got back up after a fall, every time you chose hope over despair, that fire grew stronger. Now it's ready to blaze. October 10th is when you stop hiding that fire and let it light up the world. You're not just a spark anymore. You're a flame that can't be ignored. The world needs your light. Think about it. How many people are lost, hurting, searching for something real? Your story, your courage, your faith. It's a lifeline. You don't have to preach or perform. Just be you fully, unapologetically. That's enough to shift the atmosphere, to bring hope where it's been missing, to remind people that God's still in the business of miracles. You might feel like you're not ready, like there's still too much to fix or figure out, but God doesn't wait for perfection. He chooses you as you are, flaws and all, because your heart is ready. October 10th is when you stop waiting for someday and start living your purpose today. The world's waiting for you to show up. Look at Moses. He stuttered, doubted himself, ran from his past. But when God called, he answered. He didn't have it all together, but he had faith. That's all God needed to work wonders through him. You're no different. Your doubts don't disqualify you. Your past doesn't define you. Your faith is what sets you free. This season is about clarity. You're going to see things you couldn't before. Opportunities that were hidden. Connections that were waiting. Paths that were blocked but are now wide open. October 10th is when the veil lifts and you see God's plan with new eyes. It's not just about what you'll gain, it's about who you'll become. You're stepping into a version of yourself that's bolder, wiser, more alive. This isn't about changing who you are, it's about becoming who you were always meant to be. Every step you take and from here is a step toward that truth. God's been shaping you for this, and now it's time to walk in it. The enemy will try to pull you back. That's what darkness does when it sees light shining too bright. But you've got armor, faith, truth, and the promise that no weapon formed against you will prosper. October 10th is when you stand firm knowing you're untouchable because God's got you covered. Your life is about to tell a story, not just any story, a testimony of God's power, His love, His unshakable plan for you. People will look at you and see proof that miracles are real, that faith moves mountains, that God keeps His promises. You're not just living for you anymore. You're living for everyone who needs to see what God can do. Let's talk about abundance. Not just money, though that's part of it. God's abundance is bigger. It's joy that doesn't depend on circumstances, peace that holds you through storms, love that overflows into every relationship. October 10th is when you start tasting that abundance, when it stops being a distant hope and becomes your reality. Think of the woman at the well. She came for water, but Jesus gave her something better. Living water that never runs dry. Ease so fully that others can't help but notice. Your success, your joy, your peace, they're not just for you. They're a testimony, a light that draws others out of darkness. October 10th is when you start living that truth out loud. Don't let the world's noise drown out God's voice. You've heard it before, that still small whisper that says, you're enough, you're chosen, you're ready. October 10th is when you lean into that voice. When you let it guide every step, the world can wait. God's calling you now. Your transformation isn't just personal, it's generational. The blessings coming your way aren't just for today. They're for your children, your family, the legacy you'll leave behind. God's building something through you that will outlast you, something that will change lives long after you're gone. Look at Abraham. God promised him a nation when he was old, childless, and wandering. It didn't make sense, but Abraham believed. And from that faith came a legacy that's still unfolding. Your faith right now is planting seeds for a future you can't even imagine. October 10th is when those seeds start to sprout. You're not alone in this. You're part of a community of chosen ones. Souls who feel the same fire, who hear the same call. Subscribe to join thousands of them walking this path together. Your story strengthens theirs and theirs strengthens yours. Together, you're unstoppable. Let's talk about the shift. You felt it already. Those moments when something clicks, when you know you're on the verge of something big. October 10th is when that shift becomes permanent. It's when you stop doubting and start trusting, stop hesitating and start moving. God's been preparing you for this exact moment. You're not just stepping into blessings, you're stepping into purpose. Every gift, every talent, every dream you've carried, they're all coming together now. God's weaving them into a plan so perfect it'll take your breath away. October 10th is when you start seeing the TH reads. The world might tell you to play it safe, to stay small, to wait for a better time. But God says now. Now is when you rise. Now is when you shine. Now is when you claim everything He's promised. October 10th is your now chosen one. Don't let it pass you by. Your heart knows this is true. You felt it stirring, haven't you? That quiet certainty that something's coming, something bigger than you can explain. That's God speaking. That's His Spirit moving. October 10th is when you answer that call, when you say yes to everything He's planned. Let's talk about freedom. Not the kind the world offers. Temporary, fragile, tied to things that fade. God's freedom is different. It's the kind that lets you stand tall. No matter what's thrown at you, it's the kind that makes you unshakable because you know who you are and whose you are. October 10th is when that freedom becomes yours. You've carried chains before, fear, doubt, shame, regret, but they're breaking now. God's cutting them out, loose one by one until you're standing free, lighter than you've ever been. You're not just surviving anymore. You're soaring, and October 10th is when you spread your wings. Think of Paul and Silas locked in a prison singing praises at midnight. The chains didn't hold them, the walls didn't stop them, their faith shook the ground and freedom came. That's your story now. Your praise, your faith, your trust. It's shaking the ground and freedom's coming. You're not here to fit in, you never were. You're here to stand out, to shine so brightly that others can't look away. October 10th is when you stop apologizing for your light and start letting it burn. The world needs it. God planned it and you're ready to live it. Let's talk about the promises. God's not a man that He would lie. Every word He's spoken over you, every dream, every hope, every whisper of something better is coming to pass. October 10th is when you start seeing those promises unfold, when they move from your heart to your reality. You might have waited years for this. You might have wondered if it would ever happen, but God's timing is perfect. He's not late, He's not forgotten. October 10th is proof that He's been working all along, lining everything up for this moment. Trust Him, it's here. Your life is about to become a living testimony. People will look at you and see God's hand. They'll see the impossible made possible, the broken made whole, the ordinary made extraordinary. October 10th is when your story starts shouting His glory. You're not just receiving blessings, you're becoming one. Your life, your light, your love, it's going to touch people in ways you can't imagine. You're a vessel for God's goodness. And October 10th is when that goodness starts to overflow, spilling into every corner of your world. Let's talk about courage. You've got it, even if you don't always feel it. Every time you've chosen to keep going, to believe, to hope, that's courage. October 10th is when you tap into that company. Courage like never before. It's when you say, I'm ready, God, let's do this. You're not here to play small. You're here to live big, to love fiercely, to shine relentlessly. October 10th is when you step into that truth fully. No more holding back, no more second-G guessing. Just you, God, and a future that's brighter than you can dream. The world's about to see a new you, not because you're changing, but because you're embracing who you've always been. God's peeling back the layers, revealing the masterpiece He created. October 10th is when you start walking in that truth unapologetically, fearlessly. You're part of something bigger, a movement of chosen ones, each carrying their own light, their own story. Subscribe to join them, to stand shoulder to shoulder with souls who get it, who feel it, who know what it means to be called. October 10th is your moment to rise together. Let's talk about the harvest. You've been planting seeds through your faith, your prayers, your persistence. Oh, see, October 10th is when the harvest comes. It's not just a sprinkle, it's a flood. God's opening the storehouses, and what's coming is more than you can carry alone. Think of Ruth gleaning in the fields, not knowing she was steps away from a destiny that would change history. Your field is ready, chosen. 1. October 10th is when you start reaping what God's been growing in secret. Every seed you've sown is about to bloom. You're not defined by what you've lost. You're defined by what God's giving you. Every closed door, every missed chance, they were just redirecting you to this moment. October 10th is when the right doors open. The ones with your name on them. The ones that lead to your purpose. The enemies tried to dim your light, but it didn't work. You're still here, still shining, still chosen. October 10th is when you show the world what happens when God's in charge. No force can stop you. No lie can hold you. You're free and you're ready. Let's talk about joy. Not the fleeting kind that comes and goes with circumstances, but the deep, unshakable kind that God plants in your soul. October 10th is when that joy takes root. It's when you start waking up with a smile, knowing you're exactly where you're meant to be. You've carried enough pain. You've fought enough battles. Now it's time for peace, for laughter, for moments that make your heart feel full. God's rewriting your story. And October 10th is when the pages turn to a new chapter, one filled with light and life. You're not just surviving this world, you're shaping it. Your presence, your choices, your faith, they're changing things, even if you can't see it yet. October 10th is when you start to see the impact. When you realize your life is a force for good, for God, for glory. The promises God made to you aren't just words. They're guarantees sealed by His faithfulness. October 10th is when you start seeing them come to life. When the dreams you've held in your heart start showing up in your hands. Believe it's happening. You're stepping into a season of overflow. Not just enough, but more than enough. Love, peace, provision, purpose. October 10th is when you stop scraping by and start living fully, freely, fiercely. God's got you and He's not letting go. Let's talk about the call. You've heard it before. Maybe in the quiet of the night or the chaos of the day, that voice saying, this is who you are. This is what you're made for. October 10th is when you answer that call. When you step into the role God's been preparing you for. You're not here to blend in. You're here to stand out, to lead, to love, to live in a way that changes everything. October 10th is your starting line. The race is on and you're not running alone. God's with you and His strength is your fuel. The world's full of noise, but God's voice is clear. October 10th is when you tune out the distractions and lock in on His truth. You're not chasing shadows anymore. You're walking in light, and that light is guiding you to places you never dreamed possible. You're a chosen one. And that's not a title, it's a truth. It's written in your soul, sealed by God's hand. October 10th is when you start living that truth out loud. When you stop hiding and start shining. The world's waiting, and so is your destiny. Let's talk about the power inside you. It's not loud or flashy, but it's unstoppable. It's the kind of power that changes hearts, shifts atmospheres, breaks chains. October 10th is when you start wielding that power, not for yourself, but for the God who gave it to you. You've been through fire, but you didn't burn. You've been through storms, but you didn't sink. That's not luck, that's God. October 10th is when you start seeing the strength He's built in you. The kind that moves mountains and opens doors no one can shut. Your life is a testimony, and it's about to get louder. People will look at you and see God's handiwork, His grace, His power, His love. October 10th is when your story starts speaking. When your light starts drawing others out of darkness, you're not just receiving blessings, you're becoming one. Your life is a gift, a miracle, a proof of God's goodness. October 10th is when you start living like it. When you embrace the truth that you're here to change the world, one heart at a time. Let's talk about the future. It's not some far-off dream. It's here now, unfolding before you. October 10th is when you start walking into it. When you see the pieces of God's plan coming together. Every step you take is a step towards something greater. You're not bound by your past. You're not limited by your present. You're defined by God's promises, and they're bigger than anything you faced. October 10th is when you claim those promises. When you start living like they're already true, because they are. The world might try to box you in, but God's breaking the box. October 10th is when you step out free, bold, ready to live the life He designed for you. No limits, no chains, just you and the God who's got your back. You're part of a bigger story, a divine tapestry woven by God's hand. October 10th is when you see your place in it. When you realize every moment of your life has been leading to this. You're not just a thread, you're a masterpiece, and the world's about to see it. Let's talk about peace. Not the kind that depends on everything going right, but the kind that holds you when everything's falling apart. October 10th is when that peace becomes your anchor. When you realize nothing can shake you because God's holding you tight. You've been searching, haven't you, for answers, for meaning, for something to make sense of it all. October 10th is when you find it not in a single moment, but in the truth that God's been with you all along. Guiding, loving, preparing you for now. You're not here to struggle, you're here to soar. October 10th is when you spread your wings, when you let God lift you higher than you've ever been. The view from up there, it's breathtaking, and it's yours. The enemy's tried to stop you, but he's failed. Every lie, every doubt, every obstacle, it's all falling away. October 10th is when you see the victory. When you realize God's been fighting for you all along. You're not just winning, you're thriving. Let's talk about love. Not the fleeting kind, but the eternal kind that God pours into you. October 10th is when you feel it fully. When you realize you're not just loved, you're cherished, chosen, called, that love is your strength, your shield, your fire. You're not here to fit into someone else's story. You're here to write your own with God as the author. October 10th is when the pages turn. When the words start flowing, when your story becomes a light for others to follow. The world's full of chaos, but you're full of God. October 10th is when you start living that truth. When you walk through the noise with a peace that can't be shaken. You're not just surviving, you're shining, and the world can't look away. You're a chosen one, and that means something. It means you're called to more, made for more, destined for more. October 10th is when you step into that destiny. When you claim the life God's been holding for you. It's time and you're ready. Let's talk about the doors. Not the ones you've knocked on, not the ones that slammed shut, but the ones God's opening now. October 10th is when you see them wide, welcoming, leading to places you never thought you'd go. Walk through. He's with you. You've been waiting, haven't you? For a sign, a breakthrough, a moment when it all makes sense. October 10th is that moment. It's when God says now, and everything you've been through starts to click into place. You're not waiting anymore, you're walking. Your life is about to become a living proof of God's power. People will look at you and see miracles, small ones, big ones, all pointing to the God who never fails. October 10th is when your testimony starts shouting, when your light starts blazing. You're not just a person, you're a promise fulfilled, a plan unfolding, a light shining. October 10th is when you embrace that truth, when you stop doubting and start believing, stop hesitating and start moving. God's ready. Are you? Let's talk about the strength inside you. It's not loud or showy, but it's there. Steady, unshakable, God-given. October 10th is when you tap into it. When you realize you've been carrying a power that can change everything, use it. The world's waiting. You've been through valleys, but you're climbing now. October 10th is when you reach the peak. When you see the view God's been leading you to, it's not just beautiful, it's yours. A gift from the one who never stops working for you. The enemy's tried to dim your shine, but he can't. Your light's too strong, too real, too God-breathed. October 10th is when you let it burn bright, when you stop hiding and start showing the world what a chosen one looks like. You're not here to chase, you're here to receive. October 10th is when God's blessings start chasing you. When you realize everything you need is already on its way. Open your hands, your heart, your life is coming and it's big. Let's talk about the journey. Every step, every stumble, every victory, it's all led to this. October 10th is when you see the map. When you realize God's been guiding you all along. You're not lost, you're exactly where you're meant to be. You're a chosen one. And that's not just a title, it's a calling. October 10th is when you answer it. When you step into the role God's been preparing you for. The world's watching and you're ready to show them what faith looks like. The promises God made you aren't dreams. They're realities waiting to unfold. October 10th is when they start breaking through. When you see His words turn into truth you can touch. Believe it because it's happening now. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. October 10th is when you feel it. When you know deep in your bones that God's got you. That your life is about to overflow with His goodness. Get ready because it's here. Let's talk about the fire. Not the kind that destroys, but the kind that refines, that purifies, that makes you stronger. October 10th is when that fire blazes inside you. When you become a force of light, love, and purpose. You've been waiting for a moment like this, haven't you? A moment when everything shifts, when the pieces fall into place. October 10th is that moment. God's moving and He's moving for you. Step into it, chosen one. It's time. Let's talk about the vision. You've had dreams, haven't you? Flashes of a life bigger than the one you're living. Moments when you saw yourself doing things that seemed impossible. October 10th is when those dreams stop being distant and start becoming real. God's planting a vision in your heart. One so vivid it feels like you can touch it. It's not just a hope, it's a blueprint, a map to the life He's calling you to. You're not chasing fantasy anymore. This vision is grounded, anchored in God's truth. It's the kind of clarity that cuts through confusion, that shows you exactly where you're headed. October 10th is when you start seeing the path, not as a vague idea, but as a road lit up by His light. Every step you take now is guided, purposeful, leading you closer to that vision. Think of Nehemiah staring at the broken walls of Jerusalem. Everyone saw ruin, but he saw restoration. He didn't just dream, he acted, trusting God to provide every resource, every ally, every moment of strength. You're in your Nehemiah moment now. The ruins in your life, broken plans, lost opportunities, they're not the end. They're the start of something God's rebuilding through you. Your vision isn't just for you, it's for the people around you, the ones who need to see what's possible. When faith meets action. October 10th is when you start building. When you pick up the tools God's giving you and get to work. You don't need to know every step. Just trust the one who does. Let's talk about the strength in your stillness. The world screams for you to rush, to hustle, to prove yourself. But God's calling you to be still, to listen, to trust. October 10th is when you find power in pausing. When you realize that waiting on God isn't weakness, it's wisdom. In that stillness, He's speaking, shaping, preparing you for what's next. You've been running maybe for years trying to make things happen on your own. But God's saying, stop, I've got this. October 10th is when you let go of the need to control and let Him take the lead. It's not about doing less. It's about trusting more, knowing that His plans are bigger than your efforts. Look at Mary sitting at Jesus' feet while Martha rushed around. The world called her lazy, but Jesus called her wise. She chose the one thing that mattered, His presence. You're making that choice now. October 10th is when you sit, listen, and let God's voice drown out the world's noise. That stillness isn't passive. It's active faith. A declaration that you trust God's timing over your own. It's where your strength is renewed, where your vision gets sharper, where your heart aligns with His. October 10th is when you find peace in the pause, knowing the next step is coming. Let's talk about the doors no one can shut. The world's tried to close you out. Rejections, setbacks, voices saying you're not enough. But God's opening doors that no one can touch. October 10th is when you see them wide open, inviting you to walk through with confidence. These aren't just opportunities, they're divine appointments set by God Himself. You've knocked on doors before, maybe begged them to open, but these doors, they're swinging wide without you lifting a finger. God's been working behind the scenes, aligning people, places, moments. October 10th is when you start walking through, knowing each step is ordained, each path is yours. Think of Daniel in the lion's den. The world threw him in, expecting him to be torn apart. But God shut the lions' mouths and opened a door to favor, to influence, to a story that still echoes. Your lion's den is behind you. October 10th is when you step out unharmed into a new chapter. Those doors lead to places you've only dreamed of. Relationships that lift you up, opportunities that fit your purpose, moments that make you feel alive. October 10th is when you stop waiting for permission and start walking in the authority God's given you. The world can't stop what He's started. Let's talk about the legacy you're building. This isn't just about today, it's about tomorrow, about the generations that will come after you. October 10th is when you start planting seeds that will grow long after you're gone. Your faith, your courage, your choices, they're shaping a future that's bigger than you. You're not just living for yourself, you're living for the child who will hear your story, the friend who will find hope in your journey, the stranger who will see God truff your life. October 10th is when you realize your impact isn't temporary, it's eternal, a ripple that keeps spreading. Look at Sarah, who laughed when God promised her a son. She thought her time had passed, but God's promise was bigger than her doubts. Her son Isaac wasn't just a child, he was the start of a nation. Your promises are birthing something too. October 10th is when you see the first signs of it. Every choice you make now is a brick in the foundation of your legacy. Every act of faith, every step of courage, it's building something that will stand the test of time. October 10th is when you start seeing the outline of what God's creating through you, and it's breathtaking. Let's talk about the freedom in surrender. You fought to hold on to control to make things work. But October 10th is when you let go, when you hand it all to God and find freedom in trusting Him. It's not giving up, it's giving over. Letting the one who knows the end from the beginning take the L. Surrender doesn't mean weakness. It means strength. The kind that comes from knowing you don't have to carry it all. October 10th is when you feel the weight lift. When you realize God's shoulders are bigger than yours. He's got your future, your fears, your dreams, every piece of you. Think of Jonah running from God's call until he ended up in a whale's belly. When he finally surrendered, God didn't just free him. He used him to save a city. Your surrender opens doors too. October 10th is when you stop running and start trusting, knowing God's plan is better than yours. That freedom feels like breathing for the first time in years. It's waking up without the knot in your stomach, walking without the weight on your shoulders. October 10th is when you trade striving for trusting and find a peace that's deeper than you've ever known. Let's talk about the joy waiting for you. Not the kind that fades when life gets hard, but the kind that bubbles up from deep within. No matter what's happening, October 10th is when that joy starts to spill over. When you feel it in your bones, God's goodness, His love, His presence. You've known pain, haven't you? Moments when joy felt like a stranger, but God's been saving up joy for you, storing it like treasure for this season. October 10th is when you start unwrapping it. When you laugh again, when your heart feels light and full all at once. Look at the prodigal son coming home broken, expecting judgment. Instead, his father threw a feast. That's God with you now. October 10th is your homecoming, when He wraps you in love and throws a party for your return to His plan, His joy, His purpose. That joy isn't just for you, it's contagious. It'll touch everyone around you, lighting up rooms, lifting spirits, showing the world what God's love looks like. October 10th is when you become a carrier of joy, a living proof that God's promises are real. Let's talk about the strength in your story. Every chapter, every loss, every win, Eve, wry moment you thought you wouldn't make it, has made you who you are. October 10th is when you see the power in that story. When you realize it's not just yours, it's God's, and He's using it to change lives. You've been through things that would have broken others, but you're still here, still standing, still shining. That's not chance, that's God's hand, weaving a story that'll inspire, heal, and lead others to Him. October 10th is when you start telling that story, not with words, but with your life. Think of Job, who lost everything, family, wealth, health, yet he held on to faith and God restored him double. Your losses aren't the end either. October 10th is when restoration begins. When your story becomes a testament to God's faithfulness. Your story isn't just about you. It's a bridge connecting others to hope, to faith, to God. October 10th is when you start walking that bridge, showing the world what happens when God writes the ending. Your life is a masterpiece and it's just getting started. Let's talk about the light you carry. It's not something you can hide, even if you try. It's in your eyes, your smile, the way you move through the world. October 10th is when that light shines brighter, when it becomes a beacon for everyone around you. You felt it flicker sometimes, haven't you? Moments when doubt or fear tried to dim it. But God's been tending that light, keeping it alive through every storm. October 10th is when it blazes, when you realize no darkness can touch what God's placed in you. Look at the disciples, ordinary men who carried a light that changed the world. They didn't have wealth or status, just faith and a message. You've got that same light, that same power. October 10th is when you let it shine unapologetically for all to see. That light isn't just for you, it's for the world. It's for the person who's lost hope, the one who's forgotten how to dream. October 10th is when you become a lighthouse, guiding others home with the glow of God's love in you. Let's talk about the promises breaking through. You've held them in your heart. Whispers of better days, of answered prayers, of dreams too big to hold. October 10th is when those promises start showing up. Not as hopes, but as realities you can touch, see, feel. God's not a man that He would lie. Every word He's spoken over you is true. And October 10th is when you see the proof. It's when the prayers you prayed in secret start getting answered in public. When the dreams you carried start taking shape before your eyes. Think of Hannah weeping for a child, pouring her heart out to God. Her promise came Samuel, a son who changed a nation. Your promises are coming too. October 10th is when you start seeing them. When you realize God's been faithful all along. Those promises aren't just for you, they're for everyone your life touches. Your breakthrough will spark someone else's faith. Your victory will inspire someone else's courage. October 10th is when you become a living promise, a proof of God's goodness. Let's talk about the courage in your heart. You faced battles no one else could see, carried weights no one else could feel, yet here you are, still standing, still believing. October 10th is when that courage shines. When you step into your calling with a boldness that shakes the ground, you don't need to be fearless to be brave. Courage is moving forward even when you're scared, trusting God even when the path's unclear. October 10th is when you take that step, when you realize you're stronger than you ever knew because God's strength is in you. Look at Deborah, a judge and prophetess who led with wisdom and courage. She didn't wait for permission. She stepped up, trusting God's call. You're in your Deborah moment. Now, October 10th is when you lead, not follow. When you trust God's voice over the world's noise. That courage isn't just for you. It's a fire that'll spark others to rise. Your boldness will give someone else permission to step out, to trust, to shine. October 10th is when you become a catalyst, a force for God's kingdom, changing everything around you. Let's talk about the peace that's yours. It's not the absence of problems, it's the presence of God, steady and unshakable. October 10th is when that peace settles deep. When you realize no storm can steal what He's placed in you. You've known chaos, haven't you? Days when everything felt like it was falling apart. But God's been teaching you to find Him in the storm, to anchor in His calm. October 10th is when that calm becomes your home, when you walk through chaos with a heart at rest. Think of Jesus sleeping in the boat while the storm raged. His disciples panicked, but He was at peace, knowing His Father was in control. You're finding that peace now. October 10th is when you rest in God's hands, knowing He's got every detail covered. That peace is a gift you'll carry everywhere. It'll touch your home, your work, your relationships. October 10th is when you become me, a vessel of God's calm, showing the world what it looks like to trust Him fully, no matter what comes. Let's talk about the abundance waiting for you. Not just enough to get by, but enough to overflow, to give, to share, to bless. October 10th is when you start seeing that abundance not as a distant dream, but as a reality God's bringing to you now. You've lived with less before, maybe wondered if you'd ever have enough. But God's definition of enough is different. It's more than you need, more than you can hold. October 10th is when you open your hands and let Him fill them to overflowing. Look at the feeding of the 5,000, a few loaves, a couple fish, nothing by the world's standards. But in Jesus' hands, it was more than enough. Your little in God's hands becomes much. October 10th is when you see His multiplication at work in your life. That abundance isn't just for you, it's for the world. It's for the people who need your generosity, your kindness, your faith. October 10th is and you become a channel of God's blessings, pouring out what He's pouring in, changing lives with every gift. Let's talk about the truth you're stepping into. You've been lied to before by the world, by fear, by your own doubts, but October 10th is when God's truth takes over. When you see yourself the way He sees you, chosen, powerful, unstoppable. That truth is your foundation. Now, it's what holds you up when the world tries to pull you down. October 10th is when you stand firm in it. When you let it shape every thought, every choice, every step you take from here. Think of Peter, who denied Jesus 3 times. He thought he'd failed, but Jesus saw the rock he'd built His church on. Your failures don't define you. God's truth does. October 10th is when you embrace that. When you become the rock He's called you to be. That truth will set others free too. As you live it out, people will see what's possible when you trust God's word over the world's lies. October 10th is when your life becomes a testimony, a living proof that His truth changes everything. Let's talk about the hope that's rising in you. It's not wishful thinking, it's a certainty, a fire that burns brighter with every step. October 10th is when that hope becomes your fuel. When you realize nothing can steal what God's planted in your heart. You've known hopelessness before. Moments when the light seemed too far away. But God's been tending that hope, keeping it alive through every dark night. October 10th is when it blazes, when you feel it carrying you forward, stronger than ever. Look at Noah building an ark while the world laughed. His hope wasn't in the weather or the crowd. It was in God's promise. Your hope is the same. October 10th is when you build your ark, trusting God's word over the world's skepticism. That hope isn't just for you. It's a light for others. It'll shine through your words, your actions, your faith, showing the world what it looks like to trust God's plan. October 10th is new. Become a hope bearer, a chosen one who changes.